How many of you remember your first love? I remember mine as if it was yesterday. She was beautiful. She had a few more miles on the clock than I would have liked, but I loved her anyway. She was a Ford Orion, 1.6 litre with fuel injection in metallic silver, absolutely gorgeous. She was my first car, well, my first car that worked. And I remember one day I was back visiting Bristol, my hometown from university. I was out doing some shopping and I went back to my car, and for the first time ever, she wouldn't start. I tried and tried again. Finally, after about half an hour, I gave up. And I set off in search of a payphone. Yes, it was back before we had mobile phones. I found a local call box and I phoned the nearest Ford dealership, which happened to be owned by my family. 20 minutes later, a tow truck turned up with 2 guys on board. The senior mechanic was called Nigel, and then he had his young apprentice with him, Charlie. Oh, Nigel, thank you so much for coming. I don't know what's wrong with her. She just won't start. I've tried everything. I think it might be something to do with the fuel injection system. All right, mate, no problem. Give me the keys. Let's have a look. Nigel jumped in the car and started carrying out some tests. 2 minutes later, and he jumped back out and looked at him and he went, well, it's definitely a fuel problem. You ain't got any. And I watched as Nigel walked to his truck and recovered a small fuel can. And as he walked back, he went, as I'm here, do you want me to do the honours? And I watched as he walked the 20 feet or so to the gas station that happened to be parked outside. When he came back, as he was filling the car with fuel, he just looked up and he went, do you know what, Charlie? Scary thing is, he's going to be our boss in a few years. And sure enough, a few years later, when I was his boss, every time I walked through the workshop and made eye contact with Nigel, he'd just look at me and go, and I knew that he'd told that story time and time again to anyone who would listen. So today I'm not going to talk to you about engines, because clearly I don't know much about that. But I am going to share with you some simple leadership strategies that have worked for me over my 20 years of business ownership.